Why do law students or people in general think or say that law school is hard? Let's make something clear, everyone. Law school is not, emphasize on that, hard. If you think it's hard, you didn't crack its code. If you're interested in cracking its code, go right now to Amazon.com and search for the Straight A Law Student series, where I teach you how to crack its code like a straight A law student does, like myself. I've written the book and I'm writing it under the pseudonym of the Law School Girl. Now let's go into the reasons why people think that law school is hard. Number one is a lot of reading. I agree with the fact that there's a lot of reading in law school, but let's just make something clear. Once you figure out the structure of each type of text, depending on what it is, or material, you'll figure out that there isn't actually this much reading, because all you'll need to do is first look at the purpose of the type of paper or text you're supposed to read, and accordingly determine how to read it, aka target just the info that you need and read just that, not more. Now, if you think that that's a recipe for failure, well, I'm afraid to tell you that that's the recipe that straight A law students use. So by logic, it's a recipe for success. Number two is there are a lot of complicated words in law school, including the texts, the cases, and the professors sometimes themselves, depending on how big their ego is. Now, unfortunately, I semi-agree with that. Unfortunately, many art students end up in law school for some reason, and they think that the law is all about literature, like, their undergrad was. Needless to say, if you go into law school with that mindset, all you'll be doing is not only confusing your judge with your flowery, complicated language, but also your clients, who won't understand what you're talking about, thus won't be comfortable with you, thus won't end up retaining you or necessarily referring you that easily to other clients, which means that you will make less money. You lose. And you will also be confusing your opposition. You're really, really wasting everybody's time with your poetic language. And unfortunately, focusing too much on flowery language will leave little energy to focus on the strength of your logic, which is the bread and butter of law. Law is all about logic. Trust me, I have not risen to the very top of law had I not focused mainly and almost exclusively on nothing but logic. When I was focusing on the flowery language, I was missing out on the logic, and I was a C student. When I focused only on the logic, I got the highest grades in my class. Logic is how you find flaws in rules, which is exactly what you need to be doing as a lawyer. It's how you find flaws as well in your opposition's arguments. And that's how you will persuade your audience, through logic. Now, obviously, you need social skills as well, but we'll talk about that later. So logic, logic, logic. This is what law school is about, art students. It's not about literature. It's about logic. I did 2 law degrees in university. Quick story for you guys. And I did law as an undergrad in Europe. Then I went to North America and I did another one there, because that's how passionate I was about law. Now, if there's anyone who has law school experience, it would be me, because I went to different systems around the world and I was top 2% in all of them. So that undergrad degree I went to was very, very tough, because only 15%, of law students in that undergrad law degree succeeded. It was very, very selective. And coming from high school specialized in AP level sciences, I was terrible at writing, at least in school, from my experience in school. And so I consulted law students before applying to law school, and I asked them if they think that I have a chance. And they said that the majority of the 15% students actually who made it in law school had a science background. And that was something that was recurrent over the years. Why? Because math and sciences teach you flawless logic. You need that kind of logical strength to raise to the top in law school. So if you want to succeed in law school, you train your logic, not your poetic language. This is not undergrad arts anymore. This is law. Nobody cares about your languages. Believe me, when I wrote my law exams, whether it was in Europe or in North America, my sentences were so short and in basic plain English. Yet I got the highest grades in my entire class, like literally sometimes the highest grade in the entire class. Why? Because law is the logical substance behind your arguments, not your language. Remember that. The language is just the mold, but that doesn't matter. You break the mold, you look at what's inside of it. That's what's going to make or break your case. Plain English, that's where it's at, everyone. When a client comes to you anyway, they don't want to hear fancy language. They want someone they're comfortable with, someone they understand, somebody who they don't have to, squeeze their brains to try to decipher what the lawyer is saying. So plain English, guys, that's where it's at. Number 3, reasons that people say that law school is hard. It's that the exams are tough. Now, I agree with that, but it's not that exams are necessarily tough. It's more that exams test your critical thinking skills, and a lot more than an arts degree would. The more critical you are, the better chance you have at getting an A. That's the foundation, though, criticism. Now, you need writing skills on top of that as well to write your exams well. Don't confuse writing skills, as I mentioned now, with flowery language skills. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I mean, you need legal writing skills. You need to learn how to argue and criticize using the law. If you're in law, your law is your foundation. It's your backbone for every argument you raise in an exam. So there's so much more to touch on when it comes to writing exams and acing them. So if you want to learn how to write your exams like a straight A law student does, or like myself, because I was a straight A law student, I wrote a special book for you that takes you through every type of legal question that typically comes in a law school exam, and I teach you how to answer each and one of them in detail. So if you want to improve your legal writing and arguing skills and performance in your exams, go right now to Amazon.com and search for Law School Exams, Secrets of Straight A Students. It's also written by the Law School Girl, and I'll link the links for those 2 books in the description box below.